Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Proceed with Passion Live. I am your host, Terry Schilling, professional copywriter and copy coach. I am also a creative entrepreneur and human being. I like to call myself that. And what I like to do with Proceed with Passion Live is bring on fellow creative human beings to hear about their journey, what stops along the way in their career, led them to do what they love today, and also share some practical and actionable advice to help you achieve the same. So today we are live in my Facebook Copy Co-op group. To everybody watching here in the replay, hello. We are also live on LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel, Terry Schilling Creative. So today, let's get to our guest. You guys have probably seen it. You've seen it advertised, but I'd like to give introductions anyway. I'm very excited for my guest today. She is, like I said, creative entrepreneur, creative, talented human, huge career in marketing and tech in the Silicon Valley area. But now she's the founder of Keeping It Human, where she uses improv in comedy to help people be more creative and improve their communication skills. So everybody, please welcome Kathy Klotz-Guest to the Proceed with Passion live show. Hello.
Hello.
Now I can take I'll take a breather. Please talk. I feel like, what an introduction.
I'm like, wow, she sounds fascinating.
Yeah. Oh my God. She is fascinating. Here she is. Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Terry. Thanks for having me. Yeah,
absolutely. So we're going to have a lot of fun things to talk about because you have a very interesting career and journey, which I'm really excited to dive into a little more. But I want to start with this, Kathy. 2020 has been pretty messy, crazy year. So what, we can all agree on that. What is the coolest thing that has happened to you in 2020?
I think one of the coolest things is that I, like a lot of people, I am not bound by in-person events. And what I mean is I miss them and I miss people and I miss hugging people. But because that is off the table and everything is Zoom or whatever, I am doing events where I'm meeting people from all over the world that I would not have met if we had that restriction of geographic proximity. I would not have met these people. So I think that alone to me has been so amazing. Just being able to be on a call or do a talk and there's people that never would have been able to fly somewhere and hear you, and people that you meet from all over the world. And I think that's the one really cool thing. If, I'm really like, if I step back from all the garbage, the never ending like family Thanksgiving dinner that is 2020.
Yes, definitely. The family Thanksgiving dinner from hell is like the perfect.
From hell that never ends.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's very cool. And I love that outlook on it because it's so true. I mean, we'll get a little bit more exclusive access to a lot of people. So that's really cool that a lot of us can take advantage of that. Yeah, really like that. And everybody just joining again live here with Kathy Klotz-Guest. We're live in the Facebook Copy Co-op, LinkedIn, and on my YouTube channel. And guys, please, as we enjoy this conversation, please feel free to ask questions, comment. This is a live show, so we want to make this as interactive as possible. Kathy just shared some of the coolest things that have happened to her in 2020. And again, kind of a messy year, as we said. But Kathy, I want to go back now because what I like to do in Proceed with Passions is really hear about people's journey, as I mentioned in that lovely intro there. But if we go back, what I like to do is look at your LinkedIn here. And so way back, if we go back to some of your first career stops, I have all the way down here, senior product marketing manager, Excite at Home in 1998, one of your early stops. Senior software and multimedia analyst. So of your first career opportunities going into the workforce, what the heck did Kathy want to do with her life? What did she think she wants to do?
Yeah, right. It's so true. I fell into tech by virtue of, I think, being in Silicon Valley. And I wasn't always sure. So here's what I did know. I knew that tech jobs were everywhere because I'm born and raised here in Silicon Valley and, a product of a lot of big schools out here. And I thought, okay, well I'll do that till I figure it out. I didn't know that comedy in some way, shape or form would be part of it because I started stand-up like right after college.
Awesome.
And, 6 nights, 7 nights a week, I would be hitting a comedy stage, an open mic stage, a showcase stage, or an improv comedy stage. And I just wasn't sure how that would work. And I knew that, like, I guess in my head at the time, I thought, well, let's play it out. Let me get experience. And let me start to try to bring some of that stuff into the workplace. I think at one point in my very naive thinking and optimistic thinking, I thought, well, I'll just bring some of that into business and we'll make business better because they'll be so open and receptive to that.
Yeah. Yeah. And how it's so interesting. And oh my gosh, what memories, like in 4K high definition, of just, I can turn this into a business for myself?
I think it became increasingly clear over time. And I say increasingly clear over time. I think about 10 years into tech, I went, okay, I think I've tried and business isn't as receptive as I would like. There's a lot of myopia. There's a lot of blind spots for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of fear to doing anything new and different and fresh, and anything that it's not like hyper serious seems like it's not business worthy, which is such a misnomer. It's such a misnomer. And I thought, well, you know what? At some point I will leave and start my own business. And the years went by, and at one point I found myself, in Silicon Valley. I bought a house, and I had a VP title and I had stock, and I was like, so how do I now walk away? But I knew at some point I needed to walk away. So eventually when I did, the goal was to take all the things I learned about managing teams. And I spent 10 years managing varying degrees, increasingly bigger team sizes, till I was managing a global marketing team of like 60 people. Wow. And I took all that and combined it with, my 15, 20 years of doing stage work and all the things I learned about truth telling and storytelling, things that you don't learn in business. I learned them on a comedy stage. And that's when I knew that I was meant to like take these worlds and bring them together.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm curious about, with improv, did you have any aspirations to get into movies and acting, kind of being where you were? I mean, you're not so close to LA where the action is happening, but I imagine maybe there's some type of pipe dream, perhaps.
Yeah, there is. And in fact, at one point I was like, how do I do this? And I was doing a lot of, I did some commercials. I did a few local commercials. I did some independent films. Yes, I did. I did a couple of those.
Do you have an IMDb page?
I'm sorry?
Do you have an IMDb page?
I don't know if I do yet, but somebody told me that if they Googled me and they saw that I was credited in a couple things. So I think it's out there.
That's cool.
But I had done a couple of like local things and quite a bit of like, just sort of indie films, things like that. And I thought, well, I'll figure it out, but I like having income. I've bought up into the Silicon Valley size mortgage. So I don't know if I can just pull the plug. And somehow in my head, I thought, well, I'll parallel path it and I'll figure it out.
Right.
And I still have that dream of like, at some point, honestly, most of my business will come from other places other than sort of, marketing and B2B. And actually today, a good chunk of my business comes outside of B2B. So I am diversifying that. And so yes, that pipe dream is still there, but I just going at it at a very different way. I didn't want to live out of my car and do like improv where like you don't get paid. And I was like, how am I gonna have a nice house and do that too?
Yeah. What's so fun though, especially about today's digital age, is that you can create really your own platform and your own shows and your own things. And you're doing that, especially with the content that you're creating, which, so people go ahead and follow Kathy on LinkedIn to see a lot of that, and Instagram and Twitter for sure. But it's so interesting to me. Like sometimes I think like I wanted to be a journalist and broadcast journalist, like sports journalist growing up. But now it's like I get to interview all these people like you, and like I have these platforms that I can create and like impact others and share value. And you just got to get out and do it. I love how you said, I can figure this out. To take like Marie Forleo's everything is figure outable. Yes. I really like that quote because it's so true.
I love it. No, it absolutely is. I think it's just, we have to allow ourselves, we all come at it differently and our paths are very different.
Yeah.
And we have to allow ourselves to, however many pivots we need to get there, we'll get there.
Right.
It's just so we can't judge ourselves or compare ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Got somebody in the Facebook group. Hey, Terry. Hey, Kathy. Hello, Facebook user. I know sometimes with StreamYard, you guys have to kind of agree to share your name, but you can say who this was in the comments. But thank you to everybody tuning in now and watching the replay. Hello. We got Kathy Klotz-Guest here today. She was just sharing a little bit about her journey working in tech for 20 years, and then how she also did improv and comedy and transformed that, pivoted that into a career and keeping it human, which we'll get into in a little bit. I want you to explain a little bit more about what that is, but I also just want to know, like, what was the first like workshop that you did of like under your own, I'm doing this on my own, I got somebody to pay me for my services. What was that experience like, and what was the biggest lesson learned from it?
Okay, so the very first thing I did, I will not say it went well.
Good. That's always nice.
That's a boring story.
Yeah.
Everything went great, and there was no lessons learned. No.
It canceled, and I didn't get paid. Next question, Terry. It's like, ooh,
no.
Thanks.
So I did this government thing, and it shall remain nameless, this organization, but it was a government entity, and they brought me in. Well, little did I know that I was brought in by HR. I had no clue they were using sales budget to pay me. They didn't tell the salespeople. And I get there and the sales VP is just livid. There's a fight between HR and the sales team.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I have walked into a civil war. And during the training, I think sales did everything they could to sabotage it because they weren't on board with it. I didn't know this. And like even the CEO was talking and like trying to like, all right, everybody, let's gather around, you know, Kathy's going to do this thing. And all of a sudden, while the CEO was talking, Terry, I kid you not, the sales team starts taking straws and blowing like wads, hitting him in the face. And I'm like, that is like Lord of the Flies, absolute disrespect. Like he has lost control. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, they're going to eat me alive. Like, this man has lost control.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So I come in and I managed to win some people over. Nice. And I think the senior vice president of sales later apologized to me. He said, look, you got caught in the middle of this battle. It's not your fault. And it was like, yeah, it was just not good. And I think the lesson learned for me was, you know, if there are stakeholders who are going to be paying for things, to ask that question and to get them in the room so that everybody knows what they're buying.
Yeah.
That was just like walking into being a sacrificial lamb and not even knowing that was.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like, it's so weird. You probably go into that being like, let's see. It's like, this guy has completely lost the work culture. But at the same time, it's like, this is like an ideal client. Like if they buy into this exercise, maybe I can help things.
It's just, I had no clue like how bad it had descended. And like, once the spit wads started going, I thought, oh man, he has lost control. They always say. I was like, oh, this is bad. This is like bad.
All right, now let's welcome Kathy Klotz-Guest.
I'm looking at the door. I'm like, okay, where's the fastest track to the exit? Where do I go?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But I managed to win a few people over. Yeah. But exactly. I can only go up from there.
You can only go from there, from Liz. Yeah.
You know, and in the end, I had a couple salespeople say, we're really sorry we made it hard for you. It wasn't about you. It was about the fact that we weren't involved in the planning. And I'm like, I get you. You. So I think I managed to get out of there okay. Not the first client engagement that I thought it was going to be. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, you were able to use that, like you said, can only go up from there. And now you've been doing this for 16 years for keeping it.
So I've been in business. I started that part-time while I was still working. I was a vice president of marketing, and this was my part-time, but I have had Keeping It Human as my business since 2010. I've been doing this 100% for 10 years. And so we've evolved a lot since that.
Yeah. Awesome. Explain a little bit more of the day-to-day of what you do and how you help, improve people's lives, if you will, with what you're doing.
Yeah. A lot of it really comes down to a lot of teams that are struggling with courage in their culture, courage in their content. They're struggling with their message. They're not all on the same page. they are looking for not only ways to be more creative together, in other words, collaborative creativity, and improv is all about creating together, not one person on a stage. It's a team sport. So how do we bring everybody together they don't have to love each other. They don't have to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and go to each other's like birthday parties, but they do have to, for purposes of creating together, they have to have some baseline respect. So I work a lot with teams that kind of struggle a little bit. And I think it's sort of like, I'm a little bit of like maybe the crap whisperer there, because I understand what it's like to have teams a little bit in disarray. I understand what it's like to manage big teams and to have to bring them together. So the day-to-day is, I'd say there's usually a leadership issue, a culture issue, and all those things, Terry, affect marketing. It's very rare that somebody will call me in and there's a marketing problem that exists in isolation. If the team is afraid to take risks, if the team is afraid to go out on a limb and try new things, like 9 times out of 10, and you'll appreciate this, anybody who's worked in a big company, it's usually a function of a culture that does not have that team's back.
Yeah. You saw that.
We have to go there.
Yeah, very cool, especially what you do. And I know I had Gary Ware on a couple weeks ago, and he does a lot of like these play exercises with similar. But I mean, when you can buy into the culture and you can trust one another and you can feel free to speak up and like poke fun of them at them in a good way, and just have that type of that open dialogue. It's so impactful.
If people could trust each other more, if people felt that they could say the things they needed to say, the ideas, the crazy ideas, the goofy ideas, the ideas that could be transformational, if they felt safer, my gosh, the transformation, Terry, that we would see in marketing would be phenomenal.
I bet they open up so many new eyes, and maybe even some of the exercises that you do, they can use that in some of their marketing copy, like some of the things that they say about their business. It just really opens up these new ideas for people.
Oh yeah.
Super
it
interesting.
never occurs to people to say the truth. It's like, it's right in front of you. Well, why won't you say the truth? I think we've been socialized to not lean into the truth. And that's really where we have to go. Yeah.
You talk about, even like label yourself in a way, the truth teller. You've talked about this, which I find really interesting. So is there like an example that you can think of where like this team had this aha moment by speaking the truth? You don't have to name names, obviously, but like do you have anything specific that comes to mind?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I was brought into a team that had just been acquired.
Okay.
A company had just been acquired, a smaller startup in tech had been acquired by a very large, I won't name, very large, they make routers and hubs. Yeah. So, and I think what happened was we were doing this kind of team visioning, and I was using a lot of improv and play exercises, some of which Gary played with you, like Monkey Wrench, and we were kind of doing these integrative, let everybody work together kinds of exercises. Mm-hmm. And what I saw was people just were not communicating. I finally just said, look, somebody asked me, well, what do you think, Kathy, of this acquisition? I said, it really doesn't matter what I think. I'd like to know what all of you around the table think. Mm. And employees started speaking up and saying, I've never been asked before what I think. Here's what I think. I feel like we're being swallowed by a larger company and our culture is being decimated and purged. And people, it opened the door to this really interesting conversation where I got the sense that for the first time, Terry, they felt free to actually say how they felt.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Is there a little bit of therapy? It's a little bit of like play / therapy.
Is there a way that is even like from an individual standpoint, like let's say I'm a freelancer, solo business owner, even just a marketer in a team, like doing this on my own, like questions like that to really speak the truth, to get out and to really improve my marketing. What type of questions maybe could we ask ourselves?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to your values. What are your values?
Yeah.
Are you living your values? And when people, and you need to make it safe for people to say, I'm sorry, but I don't think we're living our values.
Yeah.
And instead of judging them, say, great, how so? Where's the gap? The biggest thing I see, Terry, is that people don't feel safe to be able to say, look, we say we're all about the customer, all about people. And yet We spend 7 times more on customers than we do on employees, and employees are treated poorly. How can you say you care about people when you don't even have each other's backs? And I think those kinds of conversations seem scary, but getting it out in the ether and on the table so we can deal with it is essential. Because if we don't have trust in our teams, if we don't have that trust, how the heck can we create great marketing? How the heck can we, and so honestly, having those open conversations, what do we value? What are we not living up to in that value? Where's the gap between who we say we are and what we aspire to? That's also a big gap. That Grand Canyon is where comedy lives. The difference between hypocrisy lives in that Grand Canyon.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. That's just a great question to even ask clients, like from a branding marketing standpoint, like on your questionnaire, it's like, what's the gap between where you are today and where you want to be? Right. You can get a lot of truthful answers from that. And it's like better than just like describe your brand. You know what I mean? It's just more specific.
It's gotta be, but you also have to make it safe for people. And you also have to be able to call out bullshit when bullshit happens.
Yeah.
Like, oh, everything's fine here. We're perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Kathy, now starting your own business, and even just your career in marketing and being, in the B2B space, I'm sure you dealt with a lot of just interesting personalities along your way. But I'm just curious though, what is your best advice to hurdle over imposter syndrome? And if you can think of, what was the biggest case of imposter syndrome you ever experienced?
I'd say there are all kinds of personalities in big tech. I would say, I think the best way to get over imposter syndrome is to realize that you belong, and also to stop. Like, I think we compare ourselves. Part of what magnifies imposter syndrome is because we're going, oh well, Bob in accounting is like, oh, he has this, or, Sheila over there in engineering has this. And the reality is it's really important to take an inventory of why you're in the room. Part of the reason people invite me into the room is I have a set of skills that they don't have.
Yeah.
And that's important and good, and it's different, and it allows me to say things, to be the truth teller in the room, to be the comedian in the room, to be able to call out the things, which is what comedy does. Comedy's all about the truth. And it allows me to say those things. And I think that if I didn't add value that way, I wouldn't be in the room. So I want you to understand that if you're in the room, you're there for a reason. And really look at your values and your skill sets and own them, and don't be shy about owning them.
Yeah. I love that answer to that. Yeah. There's still, you have a voice in the room to get over that.
Yeah.
Great advice. Everybody just joining, welcome. If you guys are watching the replay at this point, hopping along, got Kathy Klotz-Guest here with me today, Proceed with Passion Live. Hearing a lot of interesting and fun stories of her days working in tech and starting her own business, doing these creative and improv workshops with these large teams and what they learn from them. And really, I'm sure you hear a ton of stories from everybody that you've worked with, in helping them. I'm curious too, because a lot of times people struggle with just communicating their value to really help grow their business.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how can we clearly communicate how we can help people? But what do you think is the biggest obstacle to becoming an effective communicator, whether you're leading a team or whether you're just trying to individually communicate your value?
Yeah, I think part of the biggest reason is because we're communicating, we're two things. I think we're too hung up on our framing of the world. And I think we have to recognize that our framing of the world may not be the framing or the worldview that our customer shares. And if we can get out of our own head and go, all right, it's like, I may think I do A, B, and C, but my customer hires me for X, Y, and Z. Well, then that's what I have to communicate. So we fall in love with our own words, and we fall in love, and we want to marry our own, and run away to Casablanca with our own stuff. And like, no, we have to remember it's not about us. I also think the other part of it is that we get so locked into a certain way of doing things. And I really think I've never, even in B2B, especially B2B, the more complex the technology is, the only antidote to complexity is simplicity. You can't explain complexity with more jargon and more complexity. And it's like, well, I can't dumb down the message. And I hear that a lot. You're not dumbing down the message. You cannot explain more complexity with more complexity. You're going to have to find a simple way to say something really powerful. So don't be afraid to say something really simple and basic language.
Yeah. I like that. And I know you help a lot of teams with this messaging as well, but obviously you do it for yourself. Like we talked before we jumped on live, talking about like my audience with the show. A lot of them are copywriters, but I wanted to bring you on because like you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner as well. And like we are amateur copywriters or amateur designers, amateur accountants. We talked about all of this.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious then, just from your best advice to converting prospects into loyal customers.
Find the one or two things that you do really well, better than anybody, and focus on that. When I started my own business years ago, I made the mistake of making improv the what. Improv is not the what. Improv is the how.
Yes.
So here's what it is. Do you want more collaborative creativity? Do you want to get the best out of your teams? Do you want to replace trust so that you can get to amazing creativity? Great. So I can help you do that with this bag of improv tools.
Yeah.
Once I learned to back off the what, right, and replace the what with their framing and their needs, and improv is just the how. That's all it is. It's not the what. Nobody gives a crap. Nobody calls me and goes, hey, can you get over here? My improv is broken.
Yeah.
And don't forget to bring those plumber pants, Kathy. Could you, nobody calls me and says that.
Yeah.
So if you can get out of your own way, because we all think we bring magic, and we do. We all bring magic. But the minute we sell that magic, it's not the problem that they see that they have. Right. So make it secondary. Make it a secondary thing. Yeah.
Because it's like example, like if your website said improv for your business, it's like, what the hell does this mean? Like, I don't want to just have an improv person, but when you focus on the what for the customer, how can I help improve their life? What aspirations can I help them achieve? Right. You flip that messaging around, but the how is doing these creative improv classes, which is great. I love that frame of mind. Yeah. Now, Kathy, we got a few people watching, so I'm curious, do you have any exercises? I did this with Gary Ware. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we did the monkey wrench game. But if anybody's playing along, I will be the guinea pig, I guess, because I'm here talking to you. But if there's any like improv exercise maybe that we want to go through, I'd love to do that again. It's so fun. Make me look like an idiot.
No. And can I say, you did an amazing job for your first time doing monkey wrench. I love it. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of different things we can do, and I just want to summarize for people watching. Some of you, if you've taken an improv class, you know that the heart and soul, the central tenet, and there's a handful of key principles to improv, but the central tenet, the foundational Bible text, if you will, is really this concept of yes and. And what it means is, just like monkey wrench, we're adding things. We're not saying, no, my idea, your idea. We're anding, we're integrating. You're integrating all these things. So one of the things I like to do when I'm trying to get people to understand how and can help is I like to do what's called a clash of contexts. Okay. And clash of context is a key comedy principle. So what two things might not go together, and can we combine them to create something new? So for example, off the top of my head, could we have a confessional booth in a strip joint? Sure, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Could we have, why not? So why can't we take things that maybe don't go together and look at them in new ways and say, well, what if I did something with these things that everybody says don't go together, but they could go together? So if we do this, what ideas percolate and how do we mash it up? So what's something, Terry, that your clients care about? And I don't mean money or more sales, but what do they care about? The environment? What's something that personally that they care about?
That they care about, but not just making more money for themselves.
Yeah, that's given. Yeah.
They care about, I feel like I just want to use your example because it was good. Just clean energy. We'll say that.
Clean energy. Okay, so let's take clean energy. Now, what's something that, what's something that's going on right now? Let's keep it maybe out of the like election cycle,
Sure. Yeah.
Like what's something like percolating top of mind right now for them? What's something interesting that's happening in the news?
Something interesting that's happening in the news. The Dodgers winning the World Series.
Okay, cool. So those are two things that you go, well, I don't know if can we combine them in new and interesting ways? Because the foundation of improv says, all right, well, let's just, I come on stage, I'm a mom, you come on stage and call me a werewolf. Well, guess what? I'm a werewolf mom. That's what I am. So, all right. So now we've got energy, clean energy, and we've got the Dodgers. All right. How can we combine these? And we're going to yes and each other. All right. How about, Terry, we do a story on how LA and the Dodgers franchise is creating systems with clean energy.
Yeah, maybe they have updated their water filtration system in all their facilities to preserve water, clean energy, no smoking signs, perhaps throughout. They have given every player electric cars as a bonus for winning the World Series.
Awesome. And what if they converted the stadium to clean energy and they actually made hot dogs and all those delicious like garlic fries with clean energy?
Yes.
And they put out like a cookbook of Dodgers recipes to like clog your arteries with clean energy.
Yeah. I love it. Exactly.
And then you say yes and what can you add on to that? Can you keep going?
Yeah. Yes, and they could run a contest throughout the game where they race electric cars along the outfield, and the winner gets a free windmill to put at their house for energy to energize their house. It's a crazy concept.
Yes, and they have this contest on a regular basis, and they publish stories of all the Dodgers fans that are finding new innovative ways to use clean energy, and they create a book out of it.
Oh my, yes. And the book is actually an Amazon top seller. And one of the featured people in it is actually running for government here in LA for a state representative. I went back to the political side. Sorry.
That's okay. Yes, and they create a whole website and they feature a hackathon of all Dodgers fans of things that people can try at home to conserve energy. And then we could go on and on and on. I mean, I'll stop it there.
I like that though. Yeah.
So what I want you to do, the way you start this is that you can do this by yourself, but it's fun to do with other people, is be very clear on a starting point. Okay. I want to figure out something that, combine something my clients care about and something that maybe is topical or something that my company cares about. Clean energy with something topical. What are the ways we can combine these things? And yes, and is the central point of improv that allows us to not reject ideas, but to build on each other's amazing ideas. And we yes and go back and forth a couple of rounds. Now, not everything is viable, but Terry, I think we had some really viable content ideas there.
Yeah, I was about to say we could come up. The team could do a couple things. That's great. And even come up with some content around social media. You put a whole strategy around these different like contests and campaigns, which I find super interesting. I was going to ask you, Kathy, just because I know you do this, you talk about how it helps create content. And I was just wondering if you had any like examples or exercises of how it can, but I feel like this was already just a great example of how we played that game.
Yeah, there's so many ways to do that. Using like storytelling where you put out a story and you allow your audience to finish it.
Yeah.
And, you can think of it as contest. You can think of it as co-creating a story with your audience.
Yeah.
You can co-create internally with your employees. You can use this game. You can do, you can do games where you yes and each other. Somebody throws an idea, a suggestion in a meeting, and you just heighten and yes and each other. And you're going to get some crazy ideas, but somewhere between 0 and like 90, you're going to get some really interesting ideas that have legs. And you're going to go, oh my God, that's viable.
Yeah.
Awesome. So there's just a ton of stuff you could do. And all of it, honestly, it's not about every idea being doable. but you're going to get some really amazing ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. So much fun. Clean energy and the Dodgers winning the World Series, combining that. Excellent.
And you wouldn't think they go together. And that's the
thing. But you can. Yeah. When you really think about it and you get people to open up, show some creativity, you can come up with some cool ideas.
Just make it safe. Just make yes and a part of it, and no idea is bad. There's no wrong. Make sure you create, if you're going to do that, a safe space where people feel free to spitball without judgment, because that's really important to not shutting people down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kathy, thank you so much. That was so much fun playing that and for sharing that exercise. I think a lot of people can use that, at home watching. But guys, we're going to wrap up the interview. We've got a couple last questions for Kathy here. Everybody who's just tuning in, I hope you guys enjoyed that. We've been sharing a lot of fun stories, so make sure you go back and watch this replay once we broadcast this and finish this. And stay tuned. We're going to play Whose Tagline Is It Anyway after this, which will be a lot of fun. The improv, of copywriting, I like to say, for my game. But Kathy, I want to know just some more kind of personal business questions. What is your morning routine like?
My morning routine right now is I kind of get up, I look at the news, less and less I'm looking at the news.
Yes, yeah.
It's like, no. I talk to my son, make sure he's ready for school, all that stuff. And I think I actually get peak energy in the morning. So one of the things that I do is I think about new ideas, like what else could I do with content? And I'll sit for maybe half an hour and write.
Yeah.
I'll just write ideas that I have for a half an hour every day. And sometimes I make jokes. Sometimes I get ideas for new content, but I just do a focused, like 30-minute Kathy's brain dump every morning. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Kathy's brain dump.
Brain dump.
That should be like an Instagram live show.
I can do it.
Yeah. I love it. All right, Kathy. So last two-part question. My favorite question of the interview, you may have seen this before if you watched a couple of these. It's a two-part question. Are you more a burrito or pizza person?
Oh, burrito. Burrito. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. She's a Cali person, so I figured you'd say burritos. But the reason I asked that, Kathy, is because if you had to build your success burrito, what are the 3 key ingredients to go in there?
Success burrito. Be willing to be wrong. Be willing to fail.
Yeah, I love that.
Be open to learning and trying new things and coming at things differently. And then be really clear on who you are and what you bring to the table. Like, just be really honest with yourself about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like that last one is the tortilla. The meat is the not afraid to fail. And then be willing to learn is like the cheese, guacamole, salsa. All of that.
100%. Yeah. And the salsa. And give me some of that. Yeah. Give me some of that. Like, I'm wrong. I'm bad. My bad.
Yeah. Are you on the Baja burrito? Is that what you guys call it? The with the fries instead of like the rice? Isn't that like a big thing in San Diego or California throughout?
No. See, I'm in the Bay Area. I'm in San Jose, and like we do.
So it's different.
We do rice and beans. You can't have no fries in any burrito. What is that? No, you can't. It's just my perfect burrito has rice.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, this Baja, we have to talk to our friend Gary Ware, because the Baja burrito with the fries in it, it's fascinating to me. You still get your carbs with rice, just a little bit more of them.
Well, yeah, that is just like carbs on carbs on carbs in a box, like carbs in a box. Oh my God, that's amazing. I have to talk to him about that. I've not heard of it. So
yeah, give that a try for sure. Well, Kathy, thank you so much. Your success burrito sounds super delicious. I love that. And thank you so much for taking the time today. This was really great to, speak with you. We've connected on LinkedIn, messages back and forth, in the comments of each other's post. It was really cool to sit down with you and have you on the show and learn a little bit more about your journey.
Yeah, of course. Of course. If people have any questions, just, they can message me or whatever from the show, and happy to chat and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, before we go, please tell people where they can find you and engage with you across the internet. I have your URL down here, keepingithuman.com. But where else can they connect with you? Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I'm on Twitter a lot. I think for the next week, folks, I'm not on Facebook a lot. Yeah, that's a good point. No, yeah, erectile dysfunction. It don't do well for me. I'm not doing it. But yeah, on Twitter and LinkedIn and Keeping It Human. So feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Again, Kathy, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you for watching and participating and chatting along with us on Proceed with Passion Live. Love what you do. Proceed with passion, and we will see you on the next episode. Cheers.